A hush settled over the showgrounds, as the morning mists of June 6 curled above the hedgerows. At first glance it looked like any other Royal Cornwall show, rust-red tractors lined up like proud sentinels, the scent of fresh hay mingling with hot doughnuts, a brass band rehearsing a jaunty march. Yet seasoned royal watchers sensed an electric charge in the air. Something, or rather, someone, was coming. Moments later, two silhouettes emerged beyond the livestock pens, Prince William, making his very first appearance as Duke of Cornwall, and Sophie, newly titled Duchess of Edinburgh. They walked shoulder to shoulder, synchronized yet unscripted, as though this rendezvous had been years in the making. Was this simply a charming county outing, or the beginning of a new royal alliance powerful enough to shift the family's future balance? William's attire told one story: checked blazer, sky blue shirt, a tie knotted with military precision, while his eyes hinted at another, a flicker of boyish mischief glinting beneath the brim of responsibility. Sophie countered with countryside elegance: blush pink blouse, suede skirt that caught the breeze, tall burgundy boots daring enough to leave a faint impression in the muddy straw. Two contrasting palettes, one unspoken purpose. But why these two, why here, and why now? Those questions whispered through the crowd long before the first camera shutter snapped. Their path wound straight into the heart of the food and farming pavilion, where prized cheeses sweated in glass cases, and towering sheaves of wheat competed for blue ribbons. Every few steps another handshake, another quick-fire anecdote, all perfectly normal until a wiry farmer thrust forward a black and white collie pup. The Duke crouched, ruffling its ears, and for a split second the heir to the throne disappeared, replaced by a father laughing like any parent chasing a runaway family pet. Viewers at home could feel their shoulders relax, only to tense again, as the next stall revealed a tantalizing tray of miniature gin samples. Cue the first real cliff edge of the day. Protocol suggests royals sip cautiously in public, if at all. Social media, however, lives for a candid reaction. Would William politely decline? He accepted. Would Sophie follow? She did, and there it was, two paper cups, raised in an almost conspiratorial toast. One tentative sip later, William's eyebrows shot up. "I can see what today's going to be like," he murmured, half to Sophie, half to the amused stall-holder. Laughter rippled, yet tension lingered. Had the future king just tipped into potential tabloid territory? Seconds later Sophie, thinking no one noticed, slipped in a second taste. William's playful reprimand, "You're not allowed to finish it," landed like a friendly volley across a tennis net. The Duchess volleyed back, his learned from the best. On paper these words feel light, but in that moment they shimmered with coded subtext: friendly rivalry, mutual respect, and a daring reminder that even within palace walls, strict hierarchies are bending. A gust of Cornish wind rustled the marquee, and one couldn't help wondering, had we just witnessed the soft launch of a formidable new double act? But what came next surprised everyone. Duty yanked them forward to the livestock arena, where a rare breed bull snorted like a prehistoric train. William, patron of the Royal Cornwall Agricultural Association, leaned across the rail, asking detailed questions about feed inflation. Sophie, who doubles as vice president of the same association, and patron of national agricultural shows, scribbled figures in her notebook faster than an aide could hand her a pen. The transition from cheeky gin tasting to hard-nosed rural economics was seamless, almost suspiciously seamless. Was this spontaneity, or had they rehearsed an entire choreography designed to coax maximum media exposure? The mystery thickened. A pause, then another hook: fresh Cornish pasties, still radiating heat through their paper bags, appeared like ambrosial temptations. William eyed his pastry, but refused a bite. "Trying to talk and eat is a nightmare," he confessed, perhaps flashing back to unflattering photographs of royals grappling with canapés. Sophie, rebellious glint returning, nipped a tiny corner while cameras were supposedly pointed elsewhere. "If you blinked, you missed it," Yet every blink in the social media age is reviewed frame by frame. Did she intend to be caught, feeding the narrative that she's the relatable duchess who breaks the rules just enough? Or was it pure instinct, hunger trumping caution? Either way, an invisible hook snagged viewers deeper into the story. Here's where the plot takes an unexpected turn. Healy's cider farm stand loomed ahead, its bottles of cloudy Rattler glowing amber in the afternoon sun. The brand carries a near-mythic reputation among West Country youth, sweet on the lips, treacherous in the morning. William halted, gaze lingering on the label as though recalling a buried memory. Everyone remembers their first Rattler, he mused, voice low enough to draw listeners closer. You remember the first, you never remember the last. A single line, but it framed him as both responsible adult and mischievous former student in one stroke. For Sophie, it was a masterclass in active listening. She asked about apple varieties, fermentation cycles, export tariffs that threaten small orchards. The camera found her face, curiosity, concern, and what looked like genuine expertise. Suddenly a duchess better known for fashion headlines transformed into an agriculture advocate who spoke fluent cider. Could this careful alternation of light and shade be accidental? Doubtful. Insiders whisper that King Charles's ongoing health treatment has accelerated a silent succession plan. Public engagements once spread across a dozen relatives now fall heavily on William, Catherine, Edward, and Sophie. Each appearance doubles as a stress test. Can they relay empathy 1 minute, gravitas the next, headline-grabbing charm throughout? The Royal Cornwall show became an exam paper in real time, and so far the marks were high. Yet every exam hides a trick question, and the afternoon still had hours to run. Just after 3 o'clock the sun battered through the clouds, illuminating a line of prize-winning dahlias. William and Sophie drifted toward them, but suddenly veered west, dodging their own press pack. Viewers on live stream craned necks. Where were they going? Past the floral archway, beyond the sugar-spun toffee stall, and into the relative quiet of the rural issues marquee. Inside waited a farming couple whose land had flooded twice this spring, leaving ruined silage and a looming insurance battle. No PR handlers hovered, the cameras stayed respectfully distant. Yet a spectator close enough to overhear reported that William offered to facilitate conversations with environmental ministers, while Sophie outlined mental health resources for isolated communities. The duo's faces lost all trace of gin-fueled merriment. For 5 unbroken minutes, it was empathy, pure and potent. Why does that matter in the grand game of monarchy? Because modern legitimacy doesn't come from crowns alone, it comes from being seen to care, deeply and consistently. If viewers thought the earlier banter was mere fluff, this unscheduled detour sharpened the edges. These royals can pivot from showground humor to crisis diplomacy without missing a beat. And that, friends, is how public trust is banked in 2025. As late afternoon slid toward evening, a final act awaited. A brief visit to the main arena's grandstand. Loudspeakers crackled, announcing the presentation of the supreme dairy cow. A swirl of onlookers pressed close. William stepped forward to present the champion rosette, yet before the farmer could accept, the winning cow let out an enormous bellow that echoed like a foghorn. The crowd erupted in laughter, William's shoulders shook in silent mirth. Sophie pressed a gloved hand to her lips. It was slapstick straight from central casting, except it wasn't scripted. That authenticity, that unpredictability, becomes social media gold within seconds. Phones shot upward. TikTok edits began brewing even as applause still rang out. Another hook for anyone scrolling by. You won't believe what happened when the royal tried to present a prize cow. And that's when things started to change again. As the royals attempted a discreet exit, a schoolboy broke from the barriers, brandishing a homemade banner painted with cornflowers and the words, "Thank you Duke and Duchess." Security froze. William saw the boy first, motioned the officers to relax, then crouched to eye level. Sophie knelt beside him. The child, voice trembling, explained his family had lost their dairy herd to disease last year, and the show was the first happy outing they'd dared attempt since. William listened, really listened, eyes steady, hands clasped. Sophie's expression softened, and she promised they'd keep pushing for better veterinary support in Parliament. If you've ever wondered how loyalty to the crown is forged in the digital age, replay that clip. 2 heirs to 2 separate branches of the throne bending knees on dusty straw, reassuring a grieving child that his loss matters. That's not just optics. That's the monarchy's survival strategy distilled into one tableau. Twilight finally painted the sky coral pink as William escorted Sophie toward their waiting cars. They shared a parting handshake long enough to ignite whispers, strategic handshake, or genuine signal of partnership. No one could quite read it, and that very ambiguity will feed discussion threads for weeks. Engines revved, gravel crunched, and in a flutter of Union Jack mini flags the motorcade eased onto the lane, tail lights glowing ruby against the dusk. The showground exhaled, but the narrative was only just drawing its breath. Because here's the real question, was this 8-hour appearance merely a pastoral postcard, or a teaser trailer for the next chapter of royal reinvention? Consider the clues: unscripted toasting, calculated empathy, deft alternation of light and shade, and a handshake that lingered just too long to be accidental. Each moment, taken alone, is charming. Taken together, they hint at a quiet power play, William, future king, aligning with Sophie, the once underrated Duchess, whose diplomatic tact and rural expertise fill a Catherine-shaped gap, while the Princess of Wales continues her recovery away from the spotlight. Could this duo become the crown's new spearhead, a brother and sister in arms against apathy, scandal, and Republican murmurs? Stay with that thought as the credits roll. Imagine the next state visit, the next environmental summit, the next unforeseen crisis. Picture William and Sophie stepping forward, perfectly in sync, one lowering the drawbridge with a joke, the other reinforcing it with policy depth. Today it was paper cups of gin, and a prize cow's comedic roar. Tomorrow, who knows? A high-stakes trade mission to Australia. A coalition to protect British farming post-2030. The seeds were sown in Cornwall, the harvest may surprise us all. So keep one eye on the Duchess's rolling hills and the other on your notifications. The smallest moment, an extra sip of gin, an unplanned kneel beside a child, can foreshadow the biggest shifts in royal dynamics. And if you're wondering whether you'll hear the next twist first on this channel, well, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and join us when the intrigue returns, because in the grand theatre of monarchy, today's charming footnote might be tomorrow's headline plot twist.